All right, so I want to go into how I ended up in Northampton County and originally at my parents' house before I ended up in Wilson, PA. And I want to go behind maybe possibly some uh, reason and motive and logic as to why these events were happening. Um, okay, so back right when COVID began to happen. I had gone on a 500-mile hike from Navarre, Florida, up to Nashville, Tennessee, and then I went back down to Murfreesboro, Tennessee to hang out with someone I had met on my hike. Okay, so now, um, because of COVID and everything, this is when they just shut down the borders, and so I had to call my mother and my sister-in-law drove down in their vehicle and picked me up. And then I was able to reside in Pennsylvania with my parents at their house. So here, my father was renovating the house. So me being raised by my grandfather and my father, and we are always handymen. I was raised building houses, plumbing, electric, roofing, the whole nine. You know, mason work, mason work, lots of tile work. My father has now perfected his stone and brick making too. My father's excellent masonry. So well anyway, so now we're moving forward and so I'm back from the hike, and after I get back from my hike, I had kind of like a little shamanistic experience. I was scared at the end of my hike. So the first 2 weeks I was back, it was real scary and stuff. And I was like, I had to decompress and ground out. I had to ground my thoughts out. I had so much static going on up here. I had to ground out. And so for a whole 6 month period, I did not use marijuana. I did not use alcohol. I think maybe once or twice, I had drank a beer with my father. But other than this, I was completely sober. There was no substances, no alcohol, no anything like that. Um, and immediately after helping my father out, work was slowing down at the house. So, and I didn't have any money, and I was working on a couple projects as a hobby projects, and I wanted money to invest in my hobby projects. So I had started working for I called a call service that was connected to Dennis Gordon. He immediately called me back, and then my parents, I did not have a vehicle at the time because in Tennessee, we're going to get to that story too. In Tennessee, I do not have a license because of the occurrence in Tennessee, which is also part of an investigation. So now, and that will be the next chapter or the next season of this events. And in Tennessee, I have a psychic detective season for every location I'm at, with cops being caught doing crooked stuff, I believe. If not crooked mobsters in the area, but who legally has these machines on record and on file? The police. I know. I know. If the police have a map of everything, it's the police. I know it's sad to say. Um, yeah, I know. The police are fucking up our neighborhoods now. Um, because they have an inferiority complex, I believe, but this is just my personal opinion. You guys can lay out the facts and figure it out for yourself. You guys are intelligent individuals. So anyway, so I'm sitting around in my room, and as a hobby, in my life, I lived as like a vagabond in my 20s. Ever since I got out of the Marines, I had got the boot out of the Marines because I ran away from base with a female. I partied a lot. They didn't like me. So I got the boot out of the Marines. And then because of this, I lived as a vagabond out in California and the San Diego area and all this, like a beach bum. Weather was nice. I was couch surfing the whole time I was there. So I didn't really have a lot going on, and blah 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 blah. So coming back now here. Um, I was sitting around working on some free energy devices. I was being manipulated. I was being tortured. And I didn't understand why. But so one of my side hobbies, because I was a vagabond and I had all these petty things on my record, I have a track record that I am not a criminal. I've never ever done anything maliciously against any person individually, but I've I've made mistakes in my life. You know, I'm not I'm 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 not a saint, let's just say that, you know. But it's always been like personal substance abuse or something like this when in my younger years, you know. Now I'm beyond that. I look skinny right now because I was just living with that crackhead and I was empathic and they were projecting him on me. So and yes, I have made a nutrition plan and the motherfucker started eating my food, excuse my French. Every single time I tried to do something to make myself healthier, it just did not work. Um, but I'm still moving forward, and I'm going to be a healthy person. At least I'm on the dean's list at college and making straight A's for psychology, right? Yeah, I hate this teeth right there. I hate it. Well, anyway, I just had to throw in some laughter in there because you can't be serious all the time. You have to smile sometime, guys. You guys have to smile, okay? No one should be mad about these videos. These videos should be impressive. They should be making you happy because why? Even though the information here may possibly anger some of you, we are putting it out there to to solve the issues that are on hand, the issues and dilemmas. So we are going to solve this. We're going to figure this all out together, y'all. America, America, fuck yeah. Well, anyway, so moving on. So because of this, I decided to be a book writer because I could publish books in a surname and what's it called and not have to worry about people looking into my background. Well, I wasn't that good of a book writer. Yes, I wrote an excellent book and I weaved in a whole bunch of what a book I wanted to write. I wanted to write a book that once you read it once, you could go reread it again and you got a different perspective. Because how it works is it will unlock channels in your mind or unlock information in your mind. So the next time you go back and reread it, you get a whole entire different lesson. And I use psychic techniques, I use mentalism, I use conversational hypnosis, I use neuro language programming. But this book is set up for the younger age group. It's called The Alien, the Magician, and the Hacker. Um, and it involves a bunch of random characters, aliens, magicians, hackers, a farmer, a circus freak. And they all sit down and they get together with the CIA and the FBI and they try to save the world in this book. But it's an adolescent book, but it does sprinkle seeds for many ideas that are going to be coming out into the future because I get pre-recognitions for the future. Um, but as I was sitting down doing this, and I started working for Dennis Gordon, something started happening. In the mornings before I would leave for work, I could start to sense or hear my neighbors next door that lived next to me in my household, which, you know, if you do any background checks, you'll see that he's lived in that town forever. So, yes, he is probably connected to some sort of synthetic frequencies or a mob or local law enforcement somehow. Um, and then also, too, every single time I would also get like I could hear Dennis Gordon's thoughts when I would wake up in the morning, which is kind of weird, but it's true. He would wake up in between the hours of 4 and 5 in the morning and get ready for work. He would start preparing the day and get all the equipment ready for our jobs. And I was able to sense his thoughts. I would wake up hearing his thoughts. Like I said, I'm very, very empathic. But these individuals in this area, I don't believe are as empathic as me. So they have these machines set on settings where like I can sense everything and they can't. So I'm set up to be a psychic detective. Um, but just by default, we didn't do this on purpose, I don't believe. The alchemist just set me up to be a magician when I was out there. So another thing I did, because these I wasn't I didn't think my book was, I thought my book was subpar. And yeah, if you guys want to, I'll publish it on Amazon so you guys can order a copy if you would like. But I'll do that in the future. I have not done that yet. I just need to put a cover on it and slap it and copyright it and slap it on there. Um, and I will do that for y'all if you would like to see it, if you guys enjoyed these videos. But leave a comment and let me know. So anyway, so while I'm going, so every morning, I start getting messed with. Like someone's messing with me like 5 or 10 minutes before I leave my house, and someone's manipulating me to forget things or to just not like forget things that I need for work, or like I was gonna bring a specific tool for the job today, and now I don't get the tool because I forgot to bring it, and now either I have to go back to my house or I have to MacGyver something at work to figure out how to get figure out these tools, or how am I going to complete the job or the task at hand. So and then as I'm at work, my mind starts being manipulated. I've never been dyslexic my whole life, but someone's using synthetic frequencies to flip my thought process. And so now there's occurrences at work where I plumb things backwards, which means I make the supply the return, and the return the supplies on boilers, which isn't good. Um, we're getting Armana AC units that go in the attic, which is a blower fan and the condenser coil. Well, these things have a specific arrangement they go in for the air to flow over them so that it doesn't leak in the attic. And there's a pan that collects the condensation and everything. But if you set them up the opposite way, water comes out and it will flood your ceiling in your attic. So things like this, they were having me set it up backwards, and it was costing my boss thousands of dollars on the job. And I was getting super angry and super mad at this. And I wasn't, I was telling my boss, like, ah, I'm getting agitated. But I didn't verbally ever say, hey, I think someone is manipulating me synthetically, because I just thought that was crazy and fugazi. No one would have ever believed me. I didn't have proof. They would have just thought there was something wrong with me. So I never said anything. So we moved forward, and now I've started doing all these continuous energy devices at my house. I bought a Tesla coil, and I was gonna make high energy, I mean high frequency devices that ran off a high frequency that were going to better aid in a house. And ever since then, I've designed things where a house can pretty much run itself without ever being on a power grid. And I'm talking heating, electricity, flowing water, everything, all using high frequencies, and being able to loop high frequencies in a continuous environment on your humble abode so you can live off the grid, but on the grid, and even pump power back into the grid. A whole new way of life. This is ideas I was working on and stuff. Um, so I started getting manipulated at home, and I noticed I started sensing that people were, monitoring my mind and monitoring my thoughts. They were able to Skype my thoughts and listen to my thoughts. And I know this because I was able to sense other people listening to me. So, because of this, and because I was also trained as an alchemist and a hypnotist and a magician and neural language programming, NLP, what I did was I pulled up a good old Igor Ledichowski on my Google. I mean, not my Google, on my YouTube, and I started reteaching and relearning all conversational hypnosis. And my reasoning and logic behind this was because someone is illegally listening to my thoughts. So I was going to build an egotistical algorithm that put him on a ego training thing because I didn't want to hurt anyone and I didn't want to manipulate anyone, but I didn't want anyone manipulating my thought process and ruining my life. They were literally ruining my life and torturing me. Um, so what I did was I learned conversational hypnosis and NLP, and I started designing ego algorithms to give people ego training that were just for listening to me. I mean, how could this be illegal if I'm sitting in my bedroom by myself in my humble abode and I'm just teaching myself conversational hypnosis and designing algorithms on my own? Correct? There should be no one monitoring or listening my mind or my mental standpoint. Correct? Yes. So, because of this, I started designing ego algorithms because I didn't want to hurt anyone, but I wanted them to understand um, why they were doing this. I wanted them to bring them to the root of their issues. Uh, there's some sort of issues that were making them come at me and hurt me and manipulate my thought process and manipulate everything about me. So I started designing these algorithms. And then one day I'm driving around with Dennis, my boss, and I told him about this experience. I said, man, someone's messing with me on your job sites. Someone's messing with me in my bedroom. I started designing ego algorithms. And I said, because you know what? These individuals, I want to teach them what they're doing wrong, and I want to show them how to do it the right way so they don't have to hurt people. And then after this, what happened is Dennis Gordon, I guess he was feeling bad for me, and he wanted me to learn a little bit more at the job site. So he hired a professional, someone who's already been working as a technician for a bigger company. So I had someone on my level to work next to as an HVAC technician. Okay. And when he hired this individual sucked. This individual was not good at what he did. But I believe that this individual was being manipulated by outside resources because there was a whole 2 week period where they were building my anger up towards this individual. It was almost like it was like a slap in the face. They're like, here's ego training, Chris. And it was like whoever I was projecting these uh, conversational hypnosis, NLP, mentalism tactics on them. They started using them back on myself on my job site. And then from here, what happened was they literally got me angry at them, and they physically controlled my fist to punch the individual in the face. And then from here, that's when State Trooper Officer Gentelli postponed him contacting me, even though he had my cell phone, even though he had my home address, even though he contacted Dennis Gordon, who also had my cell phone and home address, even though he contacted Michael Sutherland, the victim that got punched in the face, and who had my home address and cell phone. He postponed it 2 weeks out, came to my front door with a warrant for my arrest because it took so long for him to contact me that he was able to post a warrant. He threatened my mother, saying she was harboring a fugitive because he knew I lived there, even though he couldn't come and find me or call my cell phone. Then he contacted family members outside of the state. Now my brother-in-law, that he contacted his father, um, who is of high society. He is a very wealthy man. I believe that the townies here or the police, I don't know, my mind tells me that they're very manipulative and they are trying to extract money from people in ways that are unheard of with these synthetic devices. But that's just my mind. That's just my opinion. I can't prove that on paper. Um, but now my brother-in-law is having seizures and shit because of this shit, and he's in angry fits the same way that they put me in angry fits. Now, I should have never been put in jail in the first place. They controlled my fist to punch someone in the face. They literally controlled me. And then, while I was in cell 14 in 14E in the E mod of Northampton County Jail, whoever was controlling these people, they literally controlled my cellie while he was sleeping to reach down and try to grab me as they're telepathically telling me, watch this, Chris. And they came down and they reached his hand down and tried to grab me because they were controlling him as he was sleeping in Northampton County Jail. And this was after I was in jail for 40 days and I'm skinny like this. I'm on a jailhouse diet. And they said I failed a drug test for marijuana, which I never used any marijuana products in jail. So I don't know how that happened. They made me eat food, beans and spaghetti without utensils with my hands. They stripped me of my garments and put me on suicide watch for 2 days because I failed a drug test, which doesn't make sense. And then they tortured me every single day and extracted all my thoughts. Yeah, I nicknamed it cleaning my slate because I was in the slate belt. But yeah, horrible, horrible, horrible experiences. Torturing experiences. And then they found out that I wasn't even a bad person. And every single day since I got out of jail, which held me past my they held me past my incarceration date from on paper in court. They held me for like a week or two, like 7 days after or so, or something like that, and released me on my birthday as a sick birthday joke, a very, very sick birthday joke. And of course, my parents were out of town for this experience. This past year, when they controlled my money and whippets and they made me uh, rapidly spend my money, and they controlled me to do whippets every single day. They My parents were also out of town in the Dominican Republic. Conveniently, there's a lot of Dominicans here. You know, I don't know how that all plays in the fact, but in my mind, it's just like I'm very psychic, so I can see it all play out. But I mean, to you guys, you really can't. I don't want to throw in any obsolete information in there. But yeah, so I should have never even been in jail. These individuals controlled me to punch someone in the face. My hand was controlled to punch Michael Sutherland in the face. Now, if you go on TED Talks, you will see that there's a TED Talk where they put electromagnetic things on an individual, and one person can move their hand, and it makes the person standing next to him move their hand on a TED Talks. Now, all they did was, instead of having sensors on someone, they figured out how to do it with a V2K, voice to skull, telepathy and telekinesis devices, which cops readily use in the area. When they do traffic pullovers, they want to make sure that someone doesn't have a rifle on them, so they read their minds first. Avalanche and mountain rescue teams do it in case someone's stuck in an avalanche, just the sense for uh, uh, people thinking, or the sense for heartbeats to see if there's victims in there. Firefighters use this to see if there's people in burning buildings. This technology is out there. Synthetic biologists use this because now they're turning medications into synthetic frequencies, so you don't have symptoms from the medication. This is known science. This isn't bullshit. This shit is out there. And if you go to synthetictelepathy.net, there's much more information on this. So now I should have never even been on probation. I should have never even been to jail. They manipulated me to get into jail. This state trooper now contacted my family in Texas, and now my family in Texas, my brother-in-law is having seizures and angry fits, and he can't even remember what happens when he has seizures. They have to take him to the emergency room every time. This is a big ordeal, a really, really big ordeal. And that being said, I'm going to end it with that. And then I'll go to before I showed up in Northampton County, and we'll go into all that.